up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to the Sunday night live stream. And this was going to be call it like you see it Sunday night live stream after the rewatch of the Old Testament, old biblical style butt whipping that Texas received at the hands of Georgia. We'll get into it, talk about it. I'm glad to have my man Jeff Howe, my good friend, but also esteemed colleague on for this Sunday night live stream. Of course, the estimable Jerry Hamilton joins us as always. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Please throw out your questions, comments. The show belongs to you, so we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, but we know what you guys want to talk about. So we'll get into it. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We appreciate you guys making the time to join us. It'll be a bit of it'll feel like kind of a therapy session for all of us. I think we all need to talk this thing through a little bit and get some stuff off our chest. So let's just start with that. What's up, CB? And what's up to everybody else? Jerry, your first, at least your thoughts after, I'm sure, rewatching that game again, the painful experience, having to relive it. What are your thoughts now, kind of 24 hours away from that beatdown?
Yeah, it's just, I thought that first drive just kind of defined the season of the Texas offense for me. It was like when Arch played really well in that first drive, right? Ryan Wingo tripped and fell. He might have scored on the first play of the game. So Texas offense has tripped and fallen a lot this year. So that happened the first play of the game. You run the ball effectively against Georgia. I didn't go back and look at every series of these three games, but that might have been the best drive running the football against Georgia.
Yeah, I agree.
Balance.
Yep.
Then you look like you're absolutely, even after Wingo trips on first down, you look like they had great play call of DeAndre Moore. Never saw that again, or even, that I don't think we saw that formation again, Rod. Maybe I missed it.
No, him in the backfield? No.
Yeah. I would have gone back to that. So, and then you get to the third and 8, you're like, oh my gosh, Texas is about to score on their touchdown on their first drive at Georgia. Georgia's on their heels. They're running it. They're throwing it. There's a confidence building, and you have a drop. And it ends the drive, and you end up kicking a field goal. And I remember watching the live stream saying, man, if that just wasn't the offense in a nutshell this year on one drive. You ran it really well. Then you didn't really go back to it, whether it's drops or penalties or whatnot. I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's part of it that's who you are at this point. It just felt like everything we've seen this year in one drive. And then after Kirby dropped his stones on Sanford Stadium in the midfield on an onside kick, that they took the heart of the Texas players on that one. That was a big one, and that really
they broke their spirit. It broke their spirit. Yeah,
and maybe the coaching staff's in a weird way.
I think so.
Reaction to that was, that is we got one up.
Yeah,
worst possible time.
No, Kirby knew it. I remember I told you guys on the live stream. I said on the live watch, I said, Kirby, and maybe you guys were off when I told you. I said Kirby's looking for the kill shot because he knows you can't let Texas stay in the game. Texas lingers around, even though you watch the game, you go, Texas being outplayed now. Coach, how the hell are they still in this game? I think it's kind of the Ohio State game. Even though Texas was outplayed in offensively, of course, and outcoached for the most part, they still found themselves in that game. And that's how it felt. And Kirby didn't want to let that happen. So right after Texas really got back in and scoring that touchdown, he started looking for kill shots, and he found a couple of them. And that was it in a nutshell. He's like, no, I'm not letting them stick around. That onside kick, it was the fine. I mean, that was it. It broke Texas' spirit. They weren't the same after that.
And Jeff, Rod, what's crazy? Texas had done a really good job against the run through about 2.5 quarters of that game too.
Yeah.
Like that's other. I'm not even sure Auburn had held them to that few running back rush yards at that point in the game. I'd have to go back to the play-by-play, but I mean, I think we're at a point in that game where the Georgia backs had maybe 12, 13 carries for like 35 yards. Maybe it was 14 for 33 yards. It was in that area code. They didn't really run the ball effectively till after that onside kick.
To the end, to close it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got it right here. Georgia fourth quarter running the football, 67 yards. Yeah, they ran it 15 for 67 in the fourth quarter, 4.5 yards a pop. And my frustration is I'm frustrated on a couple of levels. Actually, I'll go 3-1. And as the season has unfolded, fans do it, and I'll accept my part in it too. I've had to face some hard truths about where I was wrong about this team and my perceptions of this team and thoughts about this team in the offseason going into the season. I was just straight up wrong. And we can get into that another time, but that's part of it too. I understand that penalties are going to happen. There is no excuse, and this is on Sark, everybody. It is an organizational failure for you at this point in year 5 to be leading the Power 4 in penalties per game. Yeah. We can talk about the officials. You can say whatever. There is zero excuse. That is a discipline problem. You are a sloppy, undisciplined football team that does not pay attention to detail when you lead the Power 4 in understand that. Leading the Power 4. Take the worst of any power conference you can. Texas is penalized per game more than any of the only FBS team, period, in the country that's penalized more per game than Texas is Georgia State.
Damn, can't get away from Georgia, can you, Jeff?
You're 130. You can't, Jerry. You're 133 of 134 in the FBS and penalties per game. There's zero excuse for that. So that's my frustration. And then kind of piggybacking on what you said, Jerry, you look at the unsatisfactory games Texas has played this year, even the Kentucky game. This followed the same blueprint. Whatever success you have running the ball, at some point you just stop trying to run it. Trey Wisner last night. This may be the thing that just grinds my gears the most about how the play calling and the plan unfolded. Trey Wisner ran the ball 4 times on the opening drive and ran it better. Rod, we talk about it on Football Theory. They ran it better than I assumed they would or could on that opening drive. He got 5 carries the rest of the game. After 4 on the opening drive. Yep. So you couldn't establish the run. You didn't try to run the football at some point. You were terrible on third down because of your inability or unwillingness to run the football on top of penalties. You were an unfavorable down and distances. You turn it into a throw game. Your offense devolved to a point where your only plan was, man, I hope Arch can go make a play. And that's been the identity of your offense. The identity of your offense in crunch time has been, man, I just hope Arch can go make something happen, with the exception of the few games where you've been able to establish the run. So it keeps repeating itself. This is a sloppy team. They're undisciplined. They don't learn from mistakes. They repeat the same mistakes. And Sark has a lot of really, really tough questions he's going to have to answer going into the offseason.
To your point about the run game, I remember when Sark gave up on the run on the rewatch. It was that negative play, that 8-yard loss by Trey Wisner. Remember that? It's still 14-3 at that point, but he starts off this is the first drive of the second half for Texas. He starts off with a 5-yard run. I go, okay, yeah, Texas. Yeah. Okay. They don't get back to running like they did on the first drive a little bit, and at least provide some balance to the offense. And then there's that negative run, that 8-yard run. And Jerry, I remember you were upset about that one too, because that was on Trey Wisner. Like,
that was on Wisner. He ran backwards against the Georgia defense. Like, that's gonna work.
You ain't Reggie Bush, man. You need to go. What are you doing?
He had a 1-yard gain if he'd have just fallen down.
Yeah, exactly. So and then after that, you got 15-yard pass, 17-yard pass was good, 3-yard pass, and then the penalty. There's a 3-yard pass, a 1-yard run, but that was by Arch because he was scrambling. Then next drive, 3-yard pass, 1-yard pass, 13-yard pass, incompletion, sack. That was it. That's what he was like. He was like, you could tell he was frustrated. He was frustrated. They came out of the half and that he couldn't get things going. I think he was just frustrated. At that point, his frustration, I think, influenced his decision making. And he didn't go back to kind of like you said, the blueprint that he started with on the script that really had Georgia on their heels a little bit. So, I think that's on Sark, because I'm with you. I didn't think they'd run the ball there, and they didn't. I ain't expect them to run the ball as the main way they were going to attack Georgia. But he did have a nice balance. I believe through the first 11 runs, you were averaging like running back like 4 yards per carry.
Yes.
Which that ain't bad versus Georgia.
And that before against Georgia.
Yeah, that ain't bad at all.
Yeah. Rod, I'll go. Buddy Pal Chief Big Guy says we were 2 scores down in the third. You have to give up on the run. No, you don't. Because as a head coach and play caller, if you're panicking down 14-3 early in the third quarter, you're screwed at that point.
Yeah.
Agree? Like,
yeah.
And to your point, Rod, for Sark to constantly preach his players, you guys play with emotion, don't play emotional. He calls games emotionally in games like this, where he gets away from a plan or gets fixated on a concept or fixated on a player or whatever, and it devolves, it unwinds, it spirals. So that to me is a cop-out answer. It is, but I get the frustration. I don't buy that.
I know, but I get the frustration. It was probably due to a lot of the execution because, man, the guys, they came out flat. That's on Sark too. But, man, it was some bad. You talk about the drops early. Dude, you had 2 of those drops on third downs.
Big one.
Third down, big. Just drive, killers. And their ball was on the money. The guys just dropped them. And in the penalties, of course, early on, the blown coverages on defense early on. To come off a bye week, to me, what frustrated me, and we'll get to the questions here because I know they line it up, so we'll just devote the rest of the show to whatever you guys want to talk about, was they were this sloppy. They were this undisciplined, and this, man, the best way to kind of describe the defensive backfield is discombobulated. And they had a bye week to get everything straight. That's terrible. Like, you got your worst performances of the season coming off bye weeks. What the hell are you doing in the bye week?
Yeah.
What are you doing in the bye week? What are you doing in the bye week, man? Whatever you're doing in the bye week, you must admit you have to change it. Like, that's terrible. You've been way too soft in the bye week then. If this is the product coming out of the bye week, that sloppy, that undisciplined, blown coverages. Like, what? It was Georgia coming out of the bye week too. It wasn't like, I mean, you started SEC play coming out of your bye week, and you started out soft, slow, and sloppy. And you did the same thing coming out against Georgia, season on the line.
That's no way to go through life, son. Sloppy.
That's been my biggest issue this year, and I think Texas is a very talented team. So I'm a little different than some people. Some people are like, oh, the players are just not very good. I don't buy that at all. Is Texas as talented as Ohio State? No, but Texas is a very talented team. I guarantee a lot of coaches would love that roster and see what they can do with it. There's not many that would turn it down. Maybe 5 or 6, maybe. But my issue is I don't think lessons have been learned. You you can't. The Florida game irked me because of the way the team played in that game. When you already had a loss, I'm like, you didn't really learn a lesson here. That should have been your best effort of the season easily. And anybody that watched that game or traveled to that game, was in the stands, can't say they walked away saying that team looked ready to play their best game of the season when they already had a loss. The only game this year you look at and say, okay, you made a positive move was Oklahoma after Florida when your backs were really against the wall. But then Kentucky was slop. Mississippi State, it took 3 quarters, right? Vanderbilt was the best 3 quarters of football Texas have played this year. But again, then they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. What happened yesterday? 21 points in the fourth quarter. Texas, this team, staffs, team, whatever, they're not learning lessons. The undisciplined footballs remained.
Yep.
That's when you look at teams, you say, you kind of do this. Y'all aren't really learning lessons here. That's a bad sign.
I agree with you 100%. Before we get to the question, let's thank our sponsor. First sponsor of the evening, our friends at Rogue Shop. We appreciate our friends at Rogue Shop for their continued support of On Texas football. Rogue Shop bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. Make sure to use the promo code On Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams to flour, gummies, vitamins, no matter what you're dealing with. Sleep deprivation, maybe it's aches and pains from battling Father Time or from your playing days. Maybe it's general anxiety as well. Whatever you're dealing with, our friends at Rogue Shop have so many great items that can help you battle those ailments successfully. So reach out to them today at rogueshop.com, and don't forget to use that discount code On Texas. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop. Let's dive right into them because we got lots of questions and super chats. We appreciate you guys being patient. How about this from Katie35? I'm the best, starting this out. So I saw a tweet. here a few weeks back about coaches on staff, and Ohio State had twice as many on staff as Texas does. So do you think Texas needs more eyes on players coaching them up than they do currently? Man, that's a great. They've expanded the staff this year, right? They got more assistant, position coaches. If it's an advantage that another program has like Ohio State, then maybe that's something you need to look at. Even though I'm glad they're expanding the staff, because like I said, they brought on more assistants. Like now you got three, not that it's helping, three different DB coaches, pretty much, right? So they do have more eyes. Right now, honestly, I think I feel like there's a leadership problem issue on the team a little bit too, in terms of holding guys accountable, which is hard to do because you can't be holding guys accountable unless you're balling out and you're consistent in your play. Otherwise, they're gonna look at you like, are you serious? Look at the film, man. We just watched the film, and you're not balling out every play either. So I'm not saying that guys don't have leadership, but it's hard to hold other guys accountable unless you do have guys who are playing at a high level consistently. And there's only like two guys doing that on your team. And so where's the pure accountability? Who can call each other out? Nobody. That's how football works. So I think that's a big part of it too. You need more consistent high level play from your best players. Like I love Taft. Taft can't call nobody out in this game. Taft had a bad game. That's one of the worst games I've seen from Michael Taft. I know he's coming off the injury. He's still dealing with injuries, but it was a bad game.
This is more big picture than the stuff you just hit on, Rod, but in the vein of answering Katie 35, I am the best question. Organizationally, I feel like Texas is at a point right now, kind of where Mac Brown was, like right around 2003, that year after you left, Rod, because when you left, that was a really good leadership core that left. And then that 03 team had its ups and downs. They lost that Holiday Bowl to Washington State, which in turn was probably the best thing that could have happened to that team because it forced Mac to look in the mirror and make changes. And what did he do? He brought in Dick Tomey and Greg Robinson, and you established some new standards, and you kind of revived the culture on the fly. And that sets you up for 04 and 05, which may be one of the best back-to-back runs we've seen in the history of this program. So I think organizationally, regardless of whether you win the A&M game or not at this point, and regardless of what happens with the postseason, I feel like this iteration of Steve Sarkisian Texas football, I feel like it's hit its ceiling. And it happens. And now it's time to look in the mirror, cull through everything organizationally, and revamp some stuff. And those decisions, the decisions made or not made, that somebody asked on the site today, hey, asked Bobby, and I answered the question. I said, hey, is Sark a national championship coach? And my answer was, we're about to find out, because the decisions he makes or doesn't make over the next couple of months are going to determine what becomes of his tenure.
And I will add to that, though. I think it's more than just swapping out some coaches. But I'm not saying that's what you meant, Jeff. But I think it's deeper than that. I think he's going to have to sit by himself and answer some real questions about the type of program you really have to be successful in the SEC long term. Because the history of this league tells you that this is physicality first. It's physicality in your offensive scheme. Just look at the history of this conference and look at it, especially in the last, however many years, 25 years, however long you want to go back. Look at what those teams did. Look at how those teams were built. Look at how those teams had success. And you know what? Florida had a lot of talent. Were they physical on offense in their run game with Urban Meyer? Yes, they were. This is a physical league on offense. And it's hard to get over the hump if you can't win the physicality matchups against the best team in your league.
Yeah. The only team I can think of, Jerry, that wasn't was 2019 LSU, but unless you can find Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall and Justin Jefferson.
And even those guys are built on physicality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That program, they were built on physicality and caught lightning in a bottle with Joe Burrow and Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your point stands.
I agree with you. Now, I agree with you for the most part. I agree with you, Jeff. That's kind of the exception to the rule. But you know what? Speaking of physicality, and thank you, Katie 35. I'm the best. I can't help but think of because you brought it up, that Kirby Smart post game. I don't know if it was a rant or what it was. Message. Matthew, can we get that ready to play, please? You just talked about physicality. That's everybody knows that's how you play. That's how you have to win the SEC. It's a line of scrimmage league, as Jeff used to always say. Listen to what Kirby Smart had to say after beating Texas about physicality.
Yeah, it's the approach we take. We're gonna dominate and try to win the fourth quarter. It's what we do in practice. It's what we do in the offseason. It's what we build our core culture around, is being a more physical team. And you have to recruit physical players, and they have to buy into that process. I don't know that a lot of these kids nowadays, they want to check. They don't want physicality. And if you have the check and no physicality, you end up with nothing. So we're not just getting checks at our place. We're hitting people.
This guy is wild. I mean,
he went Matt Brown recruiting angle there, but Matt Brown did it in a much different way.
I mean, that was like Suge Knight at the Source Awards. I mean,
all up in the video.
Come to death row. I mean, that's exactly what he's saying. Like, hey, don't go to Texas. No. You don't want to be hanging out with Sark. You want to be hanging out with Kirby. Hanging out with Smart, not Sark. That is wild. But to your point, though, Jerry, and maybe kind of get to the larger point, I don't know if it's scheme, philosophy, whatever, but there is no doubt that Texas is falling short, and maybe it's Sark that's falling short when it comes to winning that battle of physicality. Yeah.
Rod, can I give you some numbers on the physicality? The 3 losses to Georgia. Everybody just prepare. Just bite down on something hard. Texas has given up 16 sacks, 32 tackles for loss, and net rushing, you're 83 yards on 72 attempts. I did the math, so y'all don't have to. That's 1.15 yards per rushing attempt.
So it went up last night.
That ain't gonna get it done.
Yeah, and you didn't have Arch to boost the running game. That wasn't going to work versus Georgia, and maybe Texas didn't utilize it very much either. So I'm with you. I don't know. Sark loves the outside zone, and when the outside zone don't work or they can't run it, they really never really have anything to pivot to. Post Bijan to Rojo. Bijan to Rojo can run any damn thing. All right.
If you're, we've said this though, Rod. If your running game only thrives when you've got a generational talent at running back, your running game sucks, and you need to reevaluate it.
If your only answer is we got to have great players, then you probably have an issue.
No, that's one of the criticisms of Sark and his system. It has been, actually. People have said that. I've heard people say that, like, he needs elite NFL tackles to run his scheme, and having access to that at USC, having access to that at Texas, or even in Alabama, and access to high level talent. Yeah, the system looks beautiful and it's great, but if you don't necessarily have that talent, or that talent's not achieving at a high level or executing at a high level, sometimes that offense looks ugly. That's Sark. That's one of the things about Sark. It really does. It's kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. Like, sometimes it's a beautiful design and the aesthetic appeal, but sometimes it looks ugly. And Georgia makes that offense look ugly.
Yeah.
All right. Getting back to it. Super chats here. Appreciate that. How about this one from Quentin? Only dropping to 17 is shocking, says Quentin. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah. Thoughts, guys?
I think the thing is other people lost too, and so that's from the ranking standpoint. I mean, that's going to be, that's always going to be some issues within rankings. But yeah, should they have dropped? I mean, look, the tough thing there is, so Tennessee's 20 is, should Texas have dropped? Would you really put Texas behind Virginia is the question. Texas could have lost 45-10 last night, and I'd pick them to beat Virginia.
I mean,
that's a tough one for me as far as rankings go. Like, are you going to put Texas behind James Madison in North Texas and Missouri with a third-team quarterback?
Tulane
and Houston.
U of H, yeah.
As bad as it was last night, Texas is beating those teams. So that's the tough thing. Tough thing on the rankings. Yeah. Now, I'll be interested to see what happens with the college football playoff. I know we've been talking about playoffs, but I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, because your term all the time you use, Jerry, is some programs just out athlete others, no matter how good that team is. Like, well, you just don't have the athletes to keep up. The problem with Texas is right now, for programs that can match the athlete status of Texas, in terms of the roster talent, Texas is getting beat by them teams.
No.
Oklahoma is a team that I would say that, I guess you did beat them and they're on your level. But Florida always got talent, also Florida. And you're supposed to be able to out-athlete teams like Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mississippi State.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. And that's,
What made yesterday like the worst day too is not only did Kirby beat you and talk trash, but Oklahoma won 2 road games in a row and is now ahead of you. And A&M somehow, a game they would have lost. I said this, A&M would have lost that game for the last 27 years of their program. They would not have won that football game. They got a little mojo this now. And now you're looking at it and saying there has to, even if you beat Arkansas, which I think this may be Sark's toughest coaching job since year 1 coming up, because so much was expected of this team, and where does this team go from their mindset? Because Arkansas ain't going to cry for you. They don't give a crap. But, you need about 10, and I know people say playoffs, why are we even talking about it? Dude, there's 12 teams that go to the playoffs and other people are going to lose, so you never know what's going to happen with all this stuff. But the fact that this year you've gone this way instead of continuing to ascend, and Elko in year 2 is about to be 11-0 coming to your house, and Brent Venables was dead to rights fired before the season, and now he's 2 wins away from being in the playoff after you beat them. That's what makes yesterday totally for Texas fans.
It's tough. That's tough to swallow. All right, Jeff with a super chat here. Thank you, Jeff. Says Sark is above average on game day prep. He would get a B, A for recruiting, and A- for player development, B for play calling. A lot of people don't like. They would give him a C for play calling potentially this season. But what do you think about Jeff's grading system on Sark overall?
I mean, last night, Jerry, we talked about during the watch along. I actually thought the opening script was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. It's just we hit on this a little earlier. It's almost like you could feel when you go up 3-0, but when Georgia takes the lead, you could almost like feel the panic set in and everything got tight. And I like, I can only see so much watching the game on TV, but just watching the coach's body language, it's almost like you can tell they're panicking, trying to figure stuff out on the fly, trying to find answers. And when you're having trouble finding answers, like that reverberates throughout your sideline. Like the players can feel that. And I think everybody fed off, for better or worse, they're going to feed off your energy. And I think it was just that negative energy. And we talk about abandoning the run. Jerry, you hit on it. Rod, you did too. I think it boils down to, man, when Georgia got up and Sark could tell, hey, we're having a really hard time stopping them. And now you kind of ruminate on it. Oh, we're going to have to match scores. What we're going to do, we got to throw the ball. Now you're completely out of your element. Anything you had planned at that point is just gone out the window. And what Rod, all the years we've been doing this, what have I said? Man, when push comes to shove in panic situations, offensive play callers, they revert back to what they know best.
100%.
For Sark, that's throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like a guy that, okay, we're going to change your throwing motion, but when under duress, you're going to go back to what you've always done. I mean, like, it takes years and years to change a throwing motion. Then when you're under duress, going back to who you really always have been. Same with shooting a basketball under duress with a big closeout, man. You revert back to a little lower release, however you have done it your whole life until it's really just driven out of you through rep. But the thing that last night that it just irked me was the play with DeAndre Moore where you got creative. And because Georgia's linebackers had struggled against running backs in the passing game. So DeAndre Moore lined up as a running back, and they exploited something they saw on tape. And you never went back to it, and you never ran a second counter to that. You actually had a very successful play, and you never went back to it to see if you could be successful again. That's the thing that I just kind of shake my head. I'm like, hey, man, that was a great play. You caught them off guard. Don't you want to give them that look again and see what happens? And don't you have a counter to that where maybe the second play, because they overreact to what happened the first time, maybe you make a bigger play on the counter to it?
Use them as a decoy? Yeah.
That's the thing that I think got me last time. I'm like, that was really good.
Yeah.
You exploited Georgia on that play, and you never came back to it.
And
Play
that,
the hits. He
yeah.
don't play the hits, man. He doesn't play the hits. Y'all know that.
No,
Yep.
yeah. So, but Rod, yeah, you just hit on what I was going to hit, Jerry. That's the thing that frustrates me with Sark more than anything. When he's at his best, Bama game 23, Michigan last year, hell, the first 3 quarters of the Vanderbilt game this year, everything makes sense. There's a plan. You're running this so I can run something off of it here in a series or two. And everything is layered. It's like, okay, it makes sense why you're doing what you're doing. I think he has gotten to these points, and he did it again last night. Like, I don't think he got that way in the SEC championship game, Rod. I think it was probably the worst he's been against Kirby. Even the first game last year was turnovers and everything got away from you, and that was just an S show. But this was almost like, I really felt like, man, Sark, they got down and Sark panicked and threw the plan out the window and just felt like they had to try to go match scores when you didn't. You were still at a point in the game where you could reasonably, it was within your ability to control the game at that point, but he didn't call it that way.
I think you said something, Jeff, that we should give. I'm going to give Sark some grace for it, because I think you might have made a very good point that he felt that this thing was about to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Last year with his defense, he's like, my defense is good. I ain't got to panic. My D gonna hold him. And it did. That D last year was rock solid, man, especially in sudden change, goal line situation. That D was legit. And I think it was settle Sark down, because he go, you know what? I'm going to win it with my D. You know what I mean? I'm going to stick to my stuff. I'm just going to win it with the D. And this year, I think he knows now, I can't win it with this D. I can't trust this defense. Yeah. I can trust my front 6 in front, but only for so long. They can only hold up. But that back end, I think he knew watching it like, man, Bobo he's got so many exotic plays dialed up for these guys. He's got these DBs heading a blender. And he saw that early. He thought, they're gonna get him again. He's gonna put more points on the board. I gotta try to put points. So I think that's why I think that might be why he abandoned. I'm gonna psychoanalyze him and say that was it.
I mean, that's
what I'll say. He felt
yeah. Your point, Rod, on how well Georgia was throwing the football. Gunnar Stockton accounted for 5 touchdowns last night. He threw 5 incomplete passes.
Dude, he was killing it.
Yeah.
He was on, man. And I told him, what did I try to tell y'all? What was I worried about? I kept saying, man, I'm worried about Gunnar Stockton. I don't think y'all been watching him play. I kept bringing it up. I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, man, Gunnar Stockton is balling. Gunnar Stockton was balling.
And what one of the things we talked about on Football Theory, Rod, was in the run game, we're like, hey, it's not so much scrambles with him, it's design runs. Like, they will set up a design run, they will kill. And what was it last night? Wasn't the scrambles, design runs.
He was killing them. That's the second play of the game.
It goes back to, Rod, to your point on that. What happens when you can't trust your defense? You power run the football and keep them on the sidelines.
That's true. You're supposed to. If
you don't have to counter to that. And in this league, you better have to counter to that.
That's a good point.
Because Georgia's not as good on defense as they have been either. But you know what Georgia can do? They can possess the football with their run game and the way they call plays. And
complementary football.
Yes.
Mike Bobo called the game. Each time Georgia's played Texas, Mike Bobo has called the game Sark needed to call. Georgia just didn't run it down Texas's throat in any of these games, but they ran it well enough, especially last night. They ran it well enough to where they could start leaning on Texas a little bit. And then what happened right after that onside kick on that drive? That 2 and 3 yard run, now that becomes a 7 and 8 yard run. And those 5 and 6 yards become 10 and 11 yarders.
Yeah.
So Mike Bobo did not panic. They're like, look, we're going to throw the football, but we're going to run. We're just going to stick with the run. We're going to be patient. At some point, it's going to go in our favor. And at one point, it went in their favor.
Yep, right. Super chat here from Buddy Powell, Chief Big Guy, says last night was on the players, not the coaches. At some point, players have to step up. Don't drop a ball. Don't jump off sides. Don't block in the back. Get off the field on third down, make a play. See, listen, I'm with you, Buddy Powell, Chief Big Guy, because I'm a player. And like I said, some of the stuff out there, that's why I'm questioning player leadership. I'm like, accountability. Y'all had a bye week to get ready for this damn game. What was y'all doing during the bye week? Y'all should have been together. The fact that the secondary got 2 starters back and y'all still out there busting coverages and missing assignments and having, mental lapses. Y'all not focused. I don't know what's going on. And to me, that's on the players. Like, at this point in the season, come on, guys. Like, y'all should be putting in more work as a unit to make sure that you have that synchronicity, you hive-minded. They're I don't like I said, I don't know what's going on, but I agree with Buddy Chief Big Guy. What's the player accountability?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Rod, I heard you say this on Second Watch with Bobby, but the DB's not making enough plays on the ball. There were 2 plays made on balls last night. Anthony Hill's interception and Alex January got his hand up and knocked a pass down on a 3rd down. You didn't have in this game, you didn't have a defensive back make a single play on the ball.
It's been like 3 games in a row.
That's
not one DB making a play on the ball.
It's wild.
That's absurd. Like, what's the last? I mean, I got to go back and check. It's been a long time since that's happened, guys. Like that to me, that's an issue with the defensive backs. Like I think right now, and I go into it later. Actually, I go into a little bit in my second watch, but I got questions. That's all. I got questions, like a lot of you. Bobby says, etc. too much. Says, been outscored 21-0 in the fourth quarter last 2 games. Yep. Jerry brought that up. And like I said, a lot of it's on secondary. I would say that's been busted coverages for what? Probably at least 3 or 4 of those touchdowns.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, easily. Because it was the Vanderbilt game. Of course, we had 2 of those late.
I've kind of decided, guys, that coaches who wear visors on the sideline are just going to be the bane of my existence as a football fan. Between Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley, Kirby Smart, Steve Spurrier back in the day, I don't vibe with guys that wear the visor on game.
Until you see what I'm sending you for Christmas.
Thank you. I knew I was setting myself up for that, Jerry. So thank you.
I like that. All right, Lane C. Wright. Thank you, Lane, for the super chat. Not a rivalry, but this game plays like Red River. The more physical team that wins the rushing battle and momentum wins the game. Agree. That's a great point, Lane. By the way, I apologize for saying this thing was going to be a rivalry. I said that like a year ago. I was wrong. No rivalry. It's too lopsided to be a rivalry. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you about the line. It ends up being a line of scrimmage game. It's a fight. It's a street fight.
Yeah.
And that's what Kirby likes. He prefers a street fight. Sark wants to make it a track meet and make it a finesse thing. And Kirby's like, nah, man, we're going to fight. And Sark's like, I don't want to fight. He's like, nah, man, we're going to fight. And that's what Jerry's saying. Like, Sark,
I think that, and I said it on post game, and I think that's what another thing that irks me a little bit about coaches sometimes is, when I look at these guys and say, all right, Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian both coached under Nick Saban. They saw and learned why Nick Saban was who he was. It was disciplined football teams, physicality, the ability to run the ball in a powerful way in a conference, which you have to do now. He adapted offensively to the rule changes in the game, which great coaches do. But I look at these, and I look at Texas and I look at Georgia, and I only see one of those teams that tried to blueprint what Nick Saban did. So that kind of makes me say, did you think you're smarter than Nick Saban? You think you had it figured out and he didn't? What do you take from that? When you watch Nick Saban for all those years, what are you seeing now that's similar? Just throwing it out there. Because when I watch Georgia, I see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it. All right. Katie 35, I'm the best with another super chat. Thank you. Says, where the heck has James Simon gone?
I like James Simon a lot, but I don't know that freshman running back wasn't going to help you in a game like last night. If Trey Wisner touched the ball 4 times on the opening drive and then 5 the rest of the night, I don't think James Simon was going to help you. And, I've mentioned this too. Like, man, Sark just doesn't trust this offensive line. And honestly, why would? And even though Trey Wisner is a proven commodity, I don't think he trusts his backfield either. So I think he should have had a little more faith in them last night based on what we saw on the first drive. But it's, I'm looking forward to James Simon's future, but like, I don't mean to poo-poo the question, but like James Simon is like number 75 on the list of things that were wrong last night.
That's fair. Shout out CB here. Thanks for the super chat. CB says prayers out to lifetime Longhorn Chris Boyd. Yeah, for those who hadn't heard, Chris Boyd, he was involved in a shooting that he was shot actually. And so from what I've heard behind the scenes, at one point they thought he was in critical condition and it was life-threatening. But I've heard that they believe now he's going to be okay, at least from some things behind the scenes. I'm hoping that is actually legit because the folks that know Chris Boyd reached out to him and reached out to his family and his people, and apparently they think he's going to be all good. So I hope that is the case. So yeah, thank you, CB. Always keeping us focused on the right things that matter. We appreciate that. D Money can't get money with the super chat here. Says, I'm not saying we would have won, but if we don't have the drops and cut 3/4 of those penalties, it would have been a one-score game. Undisciplined teams don't beat championship pedigree teams, though.
Period.
I agree. But let me throw this out there for you. But you're right. You're right about, because it's a game, even with those penalties and the drops and the busted coverages early on. It's still 14-10 right there, toward the end of the third quarter. You got a shot. But I heard this from shout out to Brooks Austin, because he does a great job covering Georgia and doing all the film study. Pointed out that for the third game in a row, Kirby got a team to jump off sides on fourth down. In between, there was a fourth down, fourth and more than 2 in between the 35s. And he said Kirby never goes for it, will never go for it, but he likes to see if teams going to fall for the okie doke. And he said for 3 weeks in a row, he said Florida, Mississippi State, and now Texas, they fell for the okie doke. He said, watch the film. They never go for it in that situation. He's literally just trying to see who's going to be undisciplined in that moment. Texas' best defensive player, arguably, was that guy.
Yeah.
3 games in a row. So that's he knew it. He knew you were gonna do it. You got to give him credit for that. He's like, nah. So based on their recent history, they're saying that he probably wouldn't have snapped it.
No, he wasn't going to snap. He wasn't going to snap that ball.
Yeah,
he wasn't going to run a play.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Rod, on your second watch on the onside kick, what did you see there?
It looks like Texas left too early without even looking. The guys. By the way, I think it was Warren Roberson and was it Jonah Williams? I believe.
Jonah Williams. Yeah.
What
I noticed, and again, it looked like scouting to me. The gap between Warren and Jonah was wider than the gaps of the other guys. I think they kicked that gap for a reason.
Okay, that's good. I got to go look at the
go back and watch that again.
View of it. Okay. But that makes sense. He's a detailed-oriented coach. That would make sense. And he's going at a freshman. And honestly,
we have the video. I think Matt's going to play it. Look at the gaps on the Texas players. I think Matt's going to set it up for us in a second.
That's good stuff. That makes sense. That's why you would target that specific area of the formation.
Here it is. Here, look at the gaps between Warren and Jonah versus the other gaps. The bigger gap. They kick to the gap.
It's huge.
They kick to the biggest gap.
Damn.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the call where it's like, hey, you just tell the kicker, like, hey, if they still line up like that, you kick it right in that gap.
Yep.
Because they've been leaving her. They don't see the ball kick. They always leave right before. They assume when they see
at that point, if Texas gets the ball on the plus 45, the way your defense was playing, you're like, okay, we may be able to force a punt. At the very least, we'll hold them to 3.
And just go back to basics though. See the ball kick, man. I remember playing that position before. It's like, no, just see the ball kick. See the ball kick every time. If you follow that basic rule, they'll never get you. Unless you got bad hands like Rob B, you probably hit me on the hands and more. My point is, you see the ball kick, that's undisciplined. Are they being taught that? If like this, if it was an issue that Kirby saw, and forget the gap, because that might be something that Texas is doing in terms of the return game. So maybe that's just something they found scheme-wise. But if they're leaving early, self-scouting had an extra week to do it. You said you were self-scouting. How didn't you find out you guys were leaving early?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But Jerry, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, and I'm with you. I don't just think, well, you just fire this coach and that coach and replace them and that's it. Like, no, you have to change the way you conduct meetings, what you emphasize, the structure of your meetings, game day communication, what's getting relayed from the press box. Like it is not working. You are way too sloppy right now to be a championship team. First and foremost, you're talented enough to get away with it against Kentucky and Mississippi State and some of the lesser teams on your schedule. Hell, this game went exactly like the Florida game did. The difference was there's a reason why Billy Napier's on the unemployment line right now, and you were able that helped you get back in the game, and you were talented enough to get back in the game against a Kirby Smart coach team. If you're that sloppy, man, the margins are so thin that will kill you in a game like this. And for 3 games in a row, it has.
Yeah. All right, getting back to the super chats. Jason here says, sorry, Rod, to this point, Akina has been a travesty. Also, I don't want to blame refs, but the call discrepancy definitely affected the outcome, and they took points off the board. The Moore PI. I'll say this: it's hard when you're an already undisciplined team to complain about the officiating. I get it. There are questions because and refs suck. They're terrible. And they're bad all around, by the way, all around college football. I don't think it's anything specific to Texas or the SEC. But man, how can you complain about the refs when first of all you get blown out, then you got busted coverages and drops and all this other stuff? It's like it'd be different if it'd be different if the officiating was one of the only reasons that you were disadvantaged in this game. No, it was the coaching was bad. The play calling was bad. The execution was bad. Drops, guys were undisciplined. Guys were not focused. The officiating was the last damn thing holding Texas back.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Jason, I feel you ain't complaining about that, but a lot of people are. I know you said I don't want to blame the refs, and you're not. But a lot of people are blaming the refs. Like, nah, forget about that. Texas got so much. They got much larger issues they have to address. They're getting screwed over by the officials. And I ain't saying it ain't happening, but you ain't helping yourself at all.
Yeah, because I'll back you up, Rod, with this. Like I'm not saying you accept, live ball penalties, but if a guy is competing, then, maybe you can stomach that a little bit better. What's just completely inexcusable at this point, look at the amount of pre-snap penalties this team still has. Like you're averaging 8.2 a game. I would venture to say 5 of those are probably pre-snap. At least half of them are pre-snap penalties. That has nothing to do with how the officials are legislating the game. That's you being undisciplined.
Yep, that's a good point. All right. And about Akina, agreed. Like, at this point, I'm not saying like travesty, but they got issues that I need to see them fix. And they're not fixing issues right now. The issues are compounding week to week. First, it was the crossing routes. Then it was the curl and the hook routes. Then it was the rollouts. And now we're like, oh man, now they're just adding more and more issues to the second. Now you got blown coverages and guys having lapses in leverage. They got to start fixing some of these issues in the secondary. And by the way, if you don't, Arkansas will expose you. That offense can do it.
They can score.
Yeah, you ain't saying you're gonna lose the game, but he will expose that secondary. There's no doubt about that.
They can't stop a nosebleed, but they can score.
Yeah, this is my question for the secondary, real quick, before we get to. We're going to thank our sponsor, our friends at Culligan. I want to know: do the guys in the secondary know where their help is in every coverage? Do you know where your help is in every coverage? Do you know the weakness of the coverage? Every coverage has a weakness, especially depending on the formation that you're going up against and depending on personnel sometimes. What's the weakness of the coverage? Because likely that's what the offense is designed to exploit and attack, whatever the weakness of the coverage is. Do you know the call in the front? Like people say, well, why do I need to know the call in front? Well, because you need to know if it's a pressure, where's the pressure coming from? What kind of pressure is it? Is it a blitz? Think about it. They were on 3rd and 10. And Texas blitzed Anthony Hill. They had Colin Simmons rushing. I believe they blitzed 5, and they had one guy stay as a spy. But either way, you got to know when you got Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons going to the quarterback, trust your guys, that ball's coming out. So it ain't going to be some deep, long, developing vertical route downfield. It's going to be something in the short to intermediate area. So you can retreat, but just creep out of there and almost be ready to sit on some of those routes. And you never see Texas. And they gave up a deep outcut. Malik Muhammad did. My question would be, just like the touchdown they gave up, right? The young buck Cade Phillips. They dropped 7. Y'all realize they dropped 7? Georgia put out 3 guys on routes on that play. You dropped both defensive ends. You had your middle linebacker, both safeties back, and you had 7 guys to defend 3, and you had inside help for both corners. There's no need to jump that route or to, overplay the inside cut. You had help inside. So that's my question. Do they know those things? Because those things will help you in coverage. And right now, it doesn't seem like they have the situational awareness. And that's because I think they're lacking those kind of basic knowledge. And that's what I would ask all the guys. Where's your help? Do you know what your help is? Okay, that determines your leverage. The help determines your leverage. And unless you're in man coverage, then it's a whole nother conversation. But they don't play a lot of man coverage. Sometimes they do. Sometimes, but even in man coverage, these guys are playing outside leverage sometimes and giving up the inside cut.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense either. All right.
The one route you mentioned this in the second quarter. Georgia had that 3rd and 11 that they converted on the pressure with Texas, bro. They bring 6, I think. And I think it was Manny Muhammad's playing like 12 yards off the ball. Well, you got to know, man, if you're we're back to the whole deal about the tying the front end with the back end. If they're bringing a pressure with 6 defenders, you got to know the ball's coming out quick.
What's coming out, man?
So yeah, to your point, it's just, I don't want to say I trust me, I'm not saying like guys are airheads or anything like that, but that's a film study and just being on top of it. And again, the best Texas defense I think in my lifetime was probably that 2009 defense. And the reason why it was so good is yes, you had a ton of NFL talent on that defense, but it was Will Muschamp and Dwayne Akina. The front end knew what the back end was doing. If you had a pressure, you knew exactly what coverage you were. Guys knew their responsibilities. It worked hand in hand. And that's definitely not the case with this defense.
Right. All right, before we move on and answer some more questions, let's hear from my man Jerry telling us about one of our sponsors, our good friends at Culligan.
So after you drank yourself to sleep last night, you know what you needed when you got up in the morning with a headache? A lot of water. Well, you better have good water. You ever looked into that glass and seen all those particles floating around? You're like, what in the hell am I putting in my body? Call Culligan. When it comes to water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. You might want to say they can recover the onside kick of sorts of water. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultra Pure today at 512-339-2378. Ask for Michael. He's an OTF community member. Really good dude to schedule your free water analysis. Again, that's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan, especially after a rough night of drinking.
I like that. Yeah, get hydrated with our friends at Culligan. Yep. All right, A. Mars with a super chat. Thank you very much, A. Mars. We appreciate it. Says, does Sark have a Sark problem or a Kirby problem? Ooh, everybody's got a Kirby problem, right? Everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
Except Alabama.
Yeah, about Alabama, pretty much, yeah.
Look, I think Sark has a Sark problem in that if you're gonna climb the mountaintop in the SEC, I'm just a broken record on this. Just look at the teams that do it and how they've done it. And this is a very physical league. You have to have physicality in your run game. And some people say, hey, just get a better offensive line coach or better offensive lineman. So some of this stuff is scheme as well.
Yep.
I mean, there has to be physicality within your scheme to start. Then you can go piece that together after that and put it all together. Not piece it together, put it all together. But I think I think it's a Sark problem in one way because it's going to have to be a mindset change. Yeah. He's going to have to do things he doesn't want to do that he has to do. I think that's where we're at right now on offense. And as far as a Kirby problem, everybody's got that until they knock him off. And the guy that owned him is on College Game Day.
Seriously, he's gone. Thank you, A. Mars. Appreciate that. D Money Can't Get Money says we need to talk about Sark's momentum-killing play calls. Yeah, that's a good point. The Ringo reverses one. I believe he thinks they're going to be these boosters, right? And going to lead to an explosive play. And when they don't, they do feel like they are almost deflating in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that Ringo reverse, which one? The one where he body slammed Ron Ringo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was more the defender, but I feel you on that. There are some plays I think Sark believes they're going to be these huge kind of momentum generating plays, and when they don't work out, they're very deflating. And these are kind of some of his either staples or some of his more exotic creative like the Sark screens. When they don't work out, don't they seem like they kill the drive? The one with, you know what I mean, whether it be the tight end screen with jack injuries or those slip screens, when they don't work out, they seem like they kill, because usually they end up in a negative play. Because it's a negative, it's usually behind the line of scrimmage. But when it blows up, it does feel like it's, like I said, ultimately disheartening for the offense.
Yeah. When you face elite teams, and I'm talking about the Georgias, the Ohio States, the teams that year in, year out expect to compete for a national championship. And Kirby mentioned this after the game. The margins in these games are so thin that, the conversation right now is, well, is it on the players or on the coaches? Organizationally, it's on everybody. Everybody's got a hand in it. Players have to go out and execute, yes, but as a coach, if you're deficient in an area, it's your job to figure out, okay, what can I call? What can we do to compensate for this, to give us a chance, to put my guys in the best position to succeed? And there were times last night where Sark did that and guys didn't execute, guys didn't make plays. And there were times where he didn't do that. But in a game like Georgia, if those things mount and that's kind of your whole night, you end up with the result you got.
Michael, thank you for the super chat. Says, natty coaches adapt their strategy to the players they have. Sark has his offense, but he sometimes tries to fit a square peg into a round hole. Sark is a coach, but he needs to put aside his ego. And I think he did that, Michael. Thank you for the super chat. I thought he was doing that toward, the end of this season with the shift, the modification to the passing game, the modification with less vertical shots downfield, easier completions for Arch, kind of going pass first. So I think he did curtail some of his earlier, kind of the earlier predictions or prognostications that he had for this offense, because it just didn't work out. And he's got to do it more. He's got to do more of it. And I think it's got to be soul searching. So I'm with Jerry now. I think at this point we have a large enough sample size to look at Sark's offense and look at how it's been devolving lately. And maybe Jeff's right that it's kind of hit its ceiling, and he needs to reinvent it somehow. And that's on him. And it could be just, hey, hire a play call. That's what about hire a play caller. That's how you're going to reinvent it. If he's not going to do that, then he needs to do some soul searching.
Yeah.
I mean, look, for the people that want just a play caller hired, what if he just hires another version of himself and the scheme doesn't change? Then is that the answer in the SEC long term? That's my question. I mean, because I 100% real. You know who's building a offense built for the SEC right now? Mike Elko, power run game. Downhill power run game. Just saying. Things have to change.
Jerry, to your point, I'm looking at just rushing yards per game, just raw stat in SEC play. A&M in 7 SEC games, averaging a little over 205 yards per game. Texas is dead last.
You don't do that finessing.
Texas is dead last in the SEC in rushing yards per game in conference play, 71.67. The next closest team is South Carolina at 98, and South Carolina's offensive line is worse than Texas.
Wow. Good stuff, guys. All right. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. I think Michael's got another one here, actually. Follow up to clarify. He just wants to say Arch was great over the last few games with the quick pass and the dump off game. Sark converted to long developing plays. I thought early on in the first drive and on the script, they tried some of the quick throws as well. I would say Georgia didn't miss a lot of tackles, or maybe you didn't force them to miss tackles. They only missed 2 tackles the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, they was a really good tackling team. Some of the stuff that worked really well against Vandy just didn't work well against Georgia. And Ryan Wingo's got to keep his feet. He's got to keep his feet.
But you knew that, Rod, we talked about that on football theory. Like, hey, your perimeter passing game, your screen game, your quick game, it's going to be a lot tougher because that may be the best tackling secondary in the country.
Mm-hmm.
At the second and third level, Georgia may be the best tackling team in the country. Like, you knew that going into the game.
Yeah.
And
it may only be Georgia's second best tackling unit on their team to the offensive line.
Wow.
For the fans that saw the Colin Simmons holds.
I love it. Good Woman 21 with a super chat. Thank you, Good Woman 121 says George learned you have to be physical by coming up short to Bama over the years. Both teams had lots of talent, but Bama was more physical. Georgia had to learn the hard way. Texas has to learn the hard way too. That's great points. What Jerry said too. But you would have thought that Jerry's point is that he was with Nick Saban for them years. You should have been able to skip over this part. Right. That's a good point though. Good Woman 121. I agree with you on that.
But I'll say this too. What did Kirby do? After at some point he hired Todd Monk and he realized I gotta if I'm gonna win these games, I gotta have a little bit more offense. I gotta be a little more present day on offense. I can't be old school. Like Kirby made changes, and I think CB mentioned in the chat, like I didn't expect a program overhaul 5 years into this. That's you get all programs as long as the coach is there. You get to a point at some point where okay, this version of it, the way we've been doing it, it's hit its ceiling. And now we got to reevaluate things and do things a little bit different if you want to get to that next level. That's where starting. It's not a tear down, but the thing definitely needs to be tweaked a little bit.
It happened to Jim Harbaugh. Ryan Day had to do it too with the Chip Kelly thing. Yeah. I think that's so
it's not. So what we're talking about here is not impossible that it can't be done. It's just a matter of is Sark going to push the right buttons?
And that's the ego thing. Getting back to the last chat about Sark's ego, can he push the ego to the side and go no, like Ryan Day did, and go? What's best for the team right now is that Chip Kelly come in here and call these plays.
Yeah.
Smart RN1 says a huge win next week at Arkansas, but crushing loss versus A&M. Texas, crushing loss. I hope we ain't talking about a blowout loss to A&M. They can't get blown out by A&M, even though A&M is going to be trying to blow Texas out. That's for sure. They're going. That's their goal. Their goal is to blow Texas out, which means they're going to be trying to lay haymakers all game, which actually may work out for Texas because that can blow up in their face a little bit. But they're going to be trying to wear Texas out. Belt BTA, as the young kids would say, belt to ass. That's what they're going to be trying to do to Texas.
The next 2 weeks, we're going to find out how invested this team is in actually being Texas Longhorns and not a college football player, to Kirby's point. I mean, look, Arkansas is a tough coaching job for Sark. That is hard to be up because these kids don't know the rivalry. They shouldn't know the rivalry. But that's going to be hard to get these kids up emotionally because in their eyes, we have 3 losses. And all the dreams that we had aren't happening. They were done. And some people say, well, they were done before. But kids don't believe like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they walked off the field, got on the plane late last night and said, what do we got left? And we're going to know a lot about how important it is for these kids to actually beat Texas Longhorns the next 2 games.
Yeah, what you playing for now? Yeah, I agree. The name on the front and the name on the back is a simple answer. That's that's what you play for, gentlemen. All right, Slick Rick. I like this question from Slick Rick. We will never have Arch, Collin, and Hill on the same team again. This should have been our year. Is this a waste of the most talented roster we've had? It was a really expensive roster, reportedly.
Yeah, I don't think it's the most talented roster Texas has ever had.
No, I'm talking about the waste of because you might end up being an 84 team. So let's look at the talent level and then what you achieve.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood the question.
The talent level you have, which team that was this talented had this type of result? Which was the last team we had that was really talented that ended up being an average to above average team in the end? Let's go. Because that's basically what this team is. This team is going to be an above average team, which is
I think if you go back and look at 2019 and the number of pros you had off that team,
that's interesting.
That's one that could, especially because you were, man, the hype machine was in full gear that offseason because you're coming off that Sugar Bowl win against Georgia. You won 10 games. You finished in the top 10 in the AP poll. I mean, that's Sam Ehlinger, Joseph Osai, Sam Cosby's one of the highest paid offensive linemen in the league. Like, yeah, that team had more pros. Devin Duvernay, who made a big play for the Bears today, like that team had more pros on it than you probably think.
That's a good one. That's good. I like that. It's a good conversation. Jerry, you got a thought on it? See, Rod.
I thought Jeff was going to say 2013.
Nah.
No, yeah, I don't know. The last year, somebody brought up like 07, 06 range.
I bet that team was loaded too, though. Yeah.
That was a tough one, though, because you lost Superman coming off the national championship.
You still won 10 games, didn't you?
Yeah, you breaking a young Colt McCoy.
You still won 10 games. A 10 wins is a good team.
The 07 before
you win 10 games. You're above average. Right,
sorry, Rod. The 07 team before the 2010 team and what happened to them. Like, Mac hated that team. I think that was his least favorite team before the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Because basically, from a talent standpoint, the 07 team was the 08 team with Jamal Charles and Jermichael Finley and Frank.
Pretty much. Yeah. I like that. All right, Rod Davis helmet. Thank you. Says props to Arch. He said he played well with no help. Wingo, continual drops, penalties by the same players. Secondary is flat terrible. I don't know how the secondary is underachieving. They got talent individually. Just as you know, it's all about how you work as a unit in some places, kind of like the Texas O-line. It's like it wasn't the individual pieces because all of them were individually talented. But what's the best 5 that work as a unit? And the secondary feels like that too. Feels like everybody's kind of working like separately instead of working as a group. It's I agree that secondary has been a liability.
The Texas secondary this year reminds me of the Texas A&M defensive line last year. The whole does not equal the sum of the parts.
Right?
Yeah. Like, look at that defensive line A&M had last year. Like, they shouldn't be as bad as they are. Like, they got much better pieces, but it just didn't. We didn't see it play out.
It's like that Clemson D line. Like that.
Yeah.
Like y'all got talent. How y'all so bad?
And so that's the thing. Less talent this year, better results for A&M on the D line.
Yeah,
it's a good point. That's fair. Spank B here. Thank you for the super chat. Says, in my opinion, Texas is a soft, undisciplined, and bad play calling offense that have wasted a good defense the last 3 years. Sark needs to give up play calling and pay more attention to the whole team. This seems to be the probably most I would say most popular, but definitely it is the most frequently voiced criticism of Sark is that, hey, dude, just hire a play caller. Like, you need to give it up. That we've seen enough, and you're not going to solve all the problems that you have on offense right now. Because now there are more problems than there used to be.
Jerry brought up the point, though, Rod, that I haven't heard near enough people bring up in that conversation, though. If Sark just hires basically a version of himself and he's still meddling and play calling, like, what have you really changed?
No, but that's why it's good, though, because if he does, then it shows you that he's not the guy. Because the true humility would be,
okay,
like what Ryan Day did and go, man, I'm just going to hire somebody. I know everybody's going to say, see, Ryan Day couldn't do it by himself. He had to go get Chip Kelly. But in the end, anybody saying that? Nope.
I mean, look, do you want to keep making $12 million or do you not? It's pretty simple.
Exactly. That's
because here's the thing. Here's the thing that coaches, the bridge that coaches always have to eventually cross, or 99% of them have to. If you start firing the guys you originally hired, there's only one guy left. So if you're going to do that, you have to it can't just be they're the reason. All my buddies who are good friends, they're the reason I got to make these changes and everything's going to be fixed. Because if it's not, you're gone. It can't just be that.
Ask Charlie Strong and Tom Herman how that works out.
It can't just be that. If it's just replacing coaches,
yep,
then your next go. Things have to change around.
Yep, I agree with that. That's why it's a test. It's a test of Sark's.
Yeah,
the ego and his vision for the program. If he hires just a yes man in there, and then you know he's probably not the guy to lead you to the promised land. He's just he may have led you as far as he can.
That's not the most savory answer, Rod, but it is probably the right one.
But I'm saying I'm not even saying this is going to play out because certainly I don't care what none of y'all say. I'm going to just do what I want to do, which seems like that's the route that he's going down. Like he's just not going to hire a play caller. He's not going to entertain the conversation, really.
Yeah.
He should. Lane here says Arch window is closing rapidly. In order to maximize it, the program needs to go all in. This portal have to change trajectory. All in. Thoughts?
I mean, look, I just think it's a lot of stuff. Obviously, you have to improve some areas, but the all in the portal is interesting because we have rev share, and you're not going to have as much to spend, and the portal guys, I think, are going to have the highest leverage of anybody. So you have to be very, I think, judicious and very smart. I don't think if people are looking for an overhaul, I think there's a lot of young talent on this team, and I think giving up on young talent is a mistake long-term for the program. Now, there's going to be guys that transfer out, don't get me wrong. There's also a lot of really talented players on this team that are just young. And it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in, but I'm not giving up. I'm not just going to go try to retool my roster in the portal and then have a lot of really good young players, some that people probably haven't even seen yet on the field, that are very talented or have seen very little. Watch them walk out the door, because then you're going to become a portal program year in, year out for a while. And I don't think that's the answer.
What is your priority in the portal?
Well, you got to see who leaves and who stays, first of all. I mean, I think left guard is one. I don't think there's going to be a retooling of the offensive line at Texas through the portal. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the hardest thing is going to be in the future for these power schools is having offensive line depth, though, because it's going to be easy with a rev share for some of your third teamers or a couple of second teamers say, I'm going to get paid double over here and go start. Why would I sit here for 2 more years? So I think there's a part of that. But I think over the ball on defense and over the ball player, I think a left guard. We'll see what happens at receiver. If anybody leaves, obviously that becomes a major need. And I'm not talking about the freshman guys. I'm talking about guys who are starters right now. If anybody's not welcome back, anybody goes pro, anybody leaves, I think that can change course for you. I think linebacker. And I think I like a young kid like Bo Barnes, right? But I think depth-wise, I think you need a veteran, an adult there, because Anthony Hill goes pro. So I think you need an adult there. A lot of this also comes down to how are you going to use guys? Is Grayson Littleton going to be a nickel or a corner next year? Is Brad Spence going to still be an edge, or are you going to move him back to linebacker next year? Because I think as a linebacker, he's better than Trey Moore is. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to use Brad Spence if he's back next year? I think Brad Spence is a really good football player. So, but I think secondary for sure. I think there's definitely some looks there. I think linebacker. I think a kicker in the portal. I mean, Jake Collect's got a really talented young kid, but are you going to put it on a freshman as your kicker? Or are you going to go get somebody in the portal, because they made a good decision on that this year? They made some good decisions in the portal too. So I think a kicker is going to be one of those.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jerry. Running back's the one, and I think you got to remember this with some positions.
Running back as well. Yeah, depending on who goes. Yes.
Number one, what's in the portal?
Yeah,
because there may not be what you need. The what's in the portal may not fit your needs. And the other thing too, like with running back, if I'm a running back and I look at Texas and I see, even if Trey Wisner goes pro, I'm like, okay, CJ Baxter's back. James Simon in all likelihood is back. Derek Cooper's coming in. Am I going to go to Texas and compete with 3 or 4 other guys for snaps where I can go to school X and I'm a walk-in starter? To your point, Jerry, like the money is going to be to a point where it's not going to be if I never hear the term money whip again, that'll be just fine with me, but it's not going to be a term. Okay, this guy's going to get substantially more here than there. It's going to be more about opportunity and fit than money per se.
All right, getting back to the super chats. Justin here says, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Justin. Not ready for the season to be over, but am ready to see what adjustments we make in the offseason. But these next 2 weeks, the guys need to let their nuts hang, as VT would say. I'm with you. I think, I'm with you on that. No doubt. I think we just discussed, though, kind of what the adjustments were to your question. So not trying to ignore that, but appreciate that super chat. Jerry's Jack Links says, if we have those coverage busts against A&M, receivers, it's blouses. Oh, no doubt.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had some injuries, though. Bethel Roman got hurt yesterday. I don't know what that injury is. If anybody in the chat knows, that's a Reuben Owens went down. Will Moss play against Texas? This week's an off week for him because they're playing Samford, raise your hand if you know where Samford is. Somebody in the chat does. So it's pretty much an off week. Get your guys healthy. But they have some injuries starting to stack up on them on offense a little bit. Just something to see where Bethel Roman's at, because he's become a sneaky deep target with Concepcion and Craver being so good this year. That's really opened him up. And he's kind of taken over as the number 3 guy for them. Is he going to be able to play? Because he was getting deep. He can get deep. Now that kid can run. So is he going to be able to play? What's their running back situation going to look like? They were down to E.J. Smith yesterday in that game. So they have some injuries that they have to deal with on offense right now.
All right. Thanks for the question there, Jerry Jack's links, or the comment. Also, how about this from Jonah Williams, enthusiast? Thank you for the super chat. Says, if Sark won't run a physical SEC offense, then at least go all in on your style. Have speed all over the field and start running an offense that doesn't fit your personnel. That is fair, too. We lost the 12 personnel and everything lined up, and try to provide balance, and wants to go kind of pro style. And at times he feels like he wants to go with some bully ball in there, but I'm with you, Jonah Williams. This is why we said you should go 11 personnel, embrace the up tempo, and use the passing game to set up the running game. I think you should lean into it, but Sark, I think at times there's a bit of a conflict about who he wants to be and what identity he wants to forge with his offense too. That's clear. All right. Thank you, Jonah Williams enthusiast. We appreciate it. Oh, yeah. And by the way, seeing more Jonah Williams out there too. They got that. They got a quarters package now, a quarter package they use with 7 DBs out there. So Jonah Williams is kind of the middle field safety. It's pretty sick stuff from PK. Jerry's Jack Links has another super chat here. Thank you, Jerry's Jack Links. Says also, Sark was looking at his play sheet right before the onside kick, worried about the next drive. If he had no C, I think he could have sensed it coming. That 30,000-foot view is valuable for a head coach. It's a very good point, Jerry's Jack Links. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Then what's your special teams coach for?
Yeah, I think you have both. That's the whole point. Like, you got a special teams coach is worried about it, but then you as a head coach will be like,
somebody needs to. I mean, it shouldn't take that much time to remind your guys to look for the onside kick. So I don't know. I mean, but they practiced it. So
they practiced it, but who reminded them on the sideline before the onside kick?
Nobody, apparently.
I know. That's what I want to know. I want to know if somebody on the side. They said they practiced it, and that's great because that means they saw it on film and they put it in they put it into the practice game plan, and I guess so that's good. So the guys, at least they rehearsed it, they repped it, whatever. But who on the sideline? What special teams coach? Whether position coach, whatever, went up to the guys and went, hey, when they're in that little circle right before they go on the field, hey, guys, watch for the onside kick. I can tell you how many times I've been in a huddle on the sideline and some coach, random offensive coach, position coach, butts his head in and goes, hey, y'all watch out for this. And just leaves. And we're like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, okay. He just had to get it off his chest. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. Guys, watch out for the flea flicker. And it was like, okay, why did our O-line coach just come in here and butt his head into the defensive huddle and say, watch out for something? You can do that. Did anybody do that? That's what I want. Did anybody feel it coming to his point? All right. Spank B said it's a world where Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and A&M makes the playoffs and UT WTF. Thanks for reminding us about that, Spank B.
Yeah. I always forget Texas Tech in that equation too.
Damn. Cody Campbell.
It's hard to envy your neighbor's house, though, when your grass is overgrown, you got shingles falling off the roof, and your porch is caving in.
Whoa. Don't forget about the truck in the front yard with the jack that's jacked up.
On block. Yeah.
All right. Query, man, this is our last super chat of the night here, gentlemen. Says, maybe we simply aren't meant to be an elite team. Really haven't been since the DKR days with 3 nose tackles and 11 conference titles. He said, since then, we've only had one national title, 3 national titles and 11 conference titles. Since then, we've only had 1 national title in 55 years. That's right. 1 in 55 years. Sad.
I don't buy it.
So I don't think I don't think elite is just about winning a national championship. And I know we're in national championship or bust more than we've ever been in college sports. I get it. And I get why. But Texas has been pretty elite the last 2 years. I mean, I know this year has not been going well or according to plan, but Texas has been elite. You're in a national college football semifinal 2 years in a row. You're pretty elite. Are you national championship? No, but I think it depends on your definition of elite. My definition of elite is not just national championship or bust.
Yeah. I'm with you, Jerry. Back in the day, it would have been, hey, if you're going into the New Year's Day bowls and you mathematically got a chance to go win it, you had a really good year. You were elite that year.
Yeah.
Fred Akers played for 2. Mac played for another one in addition to 1-1. Probably should have played for 1 in 08. But yeah, that to me is an elite program. I mean, I would say I would call Georgia and Ohio State elite programs, and they're not winning national championships every year, but they're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Go ahead, Rod.
The playoffs makes it easy for you. My point is, like, you can make the playoffs year after year, then I think that's, to me, then you're on the right path year after year. If you can just stay in playoff contention now that you do have a playoff. Back in the day, this was tough. Did Mac Brown have elite teams? Oh, they won 10, 11 games, and you got to compare. Well, they couldn't beat Oklahoma. They couldn't do this or that. You make it to the playoffs and beat good teams, I think you're in that conversation. Be the best programs in the country. But do we have unrealistic expectations here at Texas? There's no question. Considering the amount of national titles and conference titles, no doubt. Expectations are, some would say, unrealistic.
Well, Rod, I agree, but I think they're that way in college sports now, period, because I think we've all become national championship or bust because coaches' salaries, people know what the players are getting paid, and the portal is the ultimate instant gratification. Oh, just go to the portal and we'll fix everything. It'll be fine. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. So I think where we're at because of all these salaries and the portal has taken instant gratification to the nth degree in its national championship or bust. Like I'm not saying James Franklin didn't deserve to be fired, but the next hire is expected to get Penn State over the top. Well, get Penn State over the top while Ohio State's dominant and Notre Dame has Marcus Freeman is a lot easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Michigan won a national title 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
hell of a scouting department.
That was elite.
The elite scouting department. Hey, I want to answer this question, Daniel. Before we go, any Jalen Lott or Austin Gooseby up at nothing new on Lott. Austin Gooseby announces tomorrow at 3 p.m., I believe, Central. And I've liked Texas' chances over BYU for a while. And if there's any change tomorrow morning, I'll I may not let y'all know, but y'all see it on my face. But I thought Texas has been in a pretty decent spot, but we'll wait for the kid to announce. That would be a big one for Sean Miller. By the way, people were caught up in football, but people are going to like Sean Miller once they get to know him and follow him. Texas did not play well yesterday in basketball. Everybody has a stinker in basketball. Everybody, like Indiana beat Incarnate Word by 7 today. You're going to have a stinker in basketball, a couple of them, especially when you're playing the competition you do and the stadiums aren't totally packed, the arenas aren't totally packed. They had a 2-a-day practice today after 4 games. You got a basketball coach, guys.
Wow.
I would support him. He's going to build for the future and do a really good job. He threw a 2-a-days out there today.
I feel bad for Radford, Jerry.
Yeah.
I like that. Nice nugget. All right. Let's thank our sponsor, our friends at Rogue Shop. One more time. Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide, folks. So no matter where you are in this great country of ours, our friends at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you ASAP. Use that special discount code. You see it right there on your screen, on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop. And they have it all, from oils and creams to flour, gummies, vitamins as well. No matter what you're dealing with, sleep deprivation, general anxiety, maybe it's aches and pains from battling Father Time or from your playing days, our friends over at Rogue Shop have so many great items that will help you battle those ailments successfully. So reach out today at rogueshop.com. Thank you guys for all the super chats. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry we couldn't get to more of your questions, but if you have some questions that you're just dying to ask and you want to make sure you get them answered by the best in the business, my man Jerry Hamilton, he will be joining my man Bobby Burton, the man, the myth, the legend, bright and early tomorrow morning for Coffee and Football. That'll be at 8:15, and then I will be joining Coach Bob Shipley and CJ Vogel tomorrow. That'll be at 7:15. We're going to have our winning drive, the prime time edition. That'll be at 7:15 p.m. Actually, my man Stevie Lee's going to join me for that one too. Lifetime Longhorn and my former teammate always joins us on a Monday. So we appreciate him taking the time. And we appreciate Jeff taking the time on a Sunday night live stream to hang out. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it, man. It means a lot. We always appreciate it.
It was good. You got a lot of stuff.
You need to get it off your chest. Yeah, you don't want to.
It's like a therapy session.
Your wife don't want to hear about that. No. Get it off your chest with us. All right.
No, I talked your ear off about it on the way to church, and she was not too interested at all.
My wife, she definitely is done. I was talking about it at the volleyball game. She's like, I don't care about Texas, Georgia no more. Done with it. All right. So we're all trying to be done with it. Moving on this week to Texas, Arkansas. Thank you, Jerry. Great stuff as always. And thank you guys, each and every one of you. Thank you guys for watching and for listening. For Jeff and for Jerry. Oh, don't forget the real MVP. Give it up for my man Matthew behind the scenes, because we can't do it without him. Best in the business. Speaking of, for Matthew as well, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.